The persistence of this buried uncertainty has a subtle but corrosive effect on international norms. For decades, the global non-proliferation regime rested on a basic premise that nuclear development could be monitored, bounded, and constrained through inspection, transparency, and reciprocal trust. Underground facilities strain that premise. They exploit the gap between what can be inferred and what can be verified, turning ambiguity itself into a strategic asset. Over time, this erodes confidence not just in any single agreement with Iran, but in the broader idea that nuclear restraint can be reliably enforced in a world of advanced concealment. This erosion does not occur all at once. It happens incrementally, image by image, report by report. Each satellite photograph showing deeper tunnels or thicker layers of reinforced concrete subtly recalibrates expectations. What once would have triggered alarm may now be absorbed as background noise. The danger lies not only in sudden escalation, but in gradual normalization. The slow acceptance that certain activities are simply beyond meaningful oversight. When that mindset takes hold, deterrence replaces prevention as the dominant logic, and the international community shifts from trying to stop capabilities from emerging to merely hoping they are never used. Such a shift carries profound implications for regional dynamics. In the Middle East, where historical grievances, proxy conflicts, and asymmetric warfare already create a volatile environment, uncertainty amplifies insecurity. States do not respond to Iran's underground nuclear program in isolation. They respond to how they believe others will respond. This creates a cascading effect. If one regional actor assumes Iran is closer to a weapons capability than publicly acknowledged, it may adjust its own military posture accordingly. That adjustment, in turn, is observed by others, reinforcing a cycle of suspicion that satellites can document but not defuse. The irony is that satellites, often celebrated as tools of transparency, may inadvertently accelerate this cycle. By making certain preparations visible while leaving intentions opaque, they sharpen threat perceptions without resolving them. A reinforced underground hall may be interpreted as a defensive measure by one observer, a breakout preparation by another, and a bargaining chip by a third. None of these interpretations can be definitively proven or disproven from orbit. Yet all of them can influence policy decisions with real-world consequences. This ambiguity also complicates crisis management. In moments of heightened tension, following a regional clash, a failed negotiation, or a provocative political statement, satellite imagery is scrutinized with particular intensity. Analysts search for signs of mobilization or escalation, knowing that what they see may be incomplete or misleading. The pressure to interpret quickly can override the caution required for accuracy. In such conditions, misreading a construction pattern or logistical movement could contribute to decisions made under false assumptions. At the same time, Iran's strategy of underground development reflects a rational response to its own threat perceptions. Decades of sanctions, covert actions, cyber operations, and explicit military threats have reinforced Tehran's belief that vulnerability invites coercion. From this perspective, burying critical infrastructure is not a signal of aggression, but a form of insurance. The problem is that insurance for one actor often looks like preparation for escalation to another. In the nuclear realm, this mismatch of perceptions is especially dangerous because the stakes are existential. The role of domestic politics cannot be ignored either. Within Iran, underground facilities carry symbolic weight. They signal technological prowess, resilience under pressure, and defiance of external constraints. These narratives play well with certain domestic audiences, reinforcing the legitimacy of continued investment. Satellite imagery, when publicized, can even serve internal messaging purposes, allowing officials to point to visible signs of strength without making explicit claims. In this way, external surveillance becomes entangled with internal political incentives, further complicating efforts to de-escalate. Outside Iran, political leaders face their own pressures. Publicly available satellite images circulate rapidly, often stripped of nuance. Legislators, commentators, and voters may demand decisive action based on visual evidence that appears compelling but lacks context. Governments must then balance classified assessments with public perceptions shaped by imagery that seems self-explanatory but rarely is. The result is a policy environment in which restraint can be politically costly, even when it may be strategically wise. Over the long term, the spread of underground nuclear infrastructure raises difficult questions about the future of arms control itself. Verification regimes were designed for an era when access, inspections, and above-ground facilities formed the backbone of compliance. Adapting these regimes to a world where critical activities are buried deep underground will require not just new technologies, but new political frameworks. Trust, already scarce, will have to be rebuilt under conditions where certainty is structurally elusive. Some argue that emerging technologies, improved sensing methods, artificial intelligence-driven analysis, or novel forms of remote monitoring will eventually close the gap. Perhaps they will, but technology alone cannot resolve the fundamental issue that political decisions, not machines, determine whether nuclear capabilities cross critical thresholds. Satellites can show preparation, but they cannot reveal intent, resolve, or restraint. Those remain human variables shaped by fear, ambition, ideology, and circumstance. This is why the moment of decision remains so unsettling. It is not marked by a new tunnel entrance or a fresh scar on a mountainside. It is marked by a choice made in private, informed by calculations that outsiders can only guess at. By the time satellites register any unmistakable consequence of that choice, the strategic landscape may already have shifted irreversibly. In this sense, Iran's underground nuclear facilities are not just physical structures. They are symbols of a broader transformation in global security. They illustrate how power is increasingly exercised through ambiguity, how visibility does not guarantee understanding, and how surveillance can coexist with profound ignorance. They remind us that even in an age of unprecedented observation, the most consequential developments may still occur beyond our reach. As satellites continue to circle the Earth, their lenses trained on mountains and deserts, they will capture more images of Iran's evolving underground landscape. Each image will add detail, context, and speculation, but none will answer the central question that animates global concern. That question, whether technical capability will ever translate into irreversible political choice, lies buried deeper than any facility, shielded not by rock or concrete, but by human decision-making itself. And until that decision is revealed, the world will continue to watch from above, interpreting shadows, measuring progress in meters of tunnel and tons of reinforced earth, and grappling with the uneasy knowledge that seeing more does not always mean knowing more. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel